Welcome back to Predictably Good, where we explore how data, AI, and analytics are shaping the future of food safety and decision makings. One of the biggest challenges in food safety outbreaks is been detecting food safety outbreaks early. How quickly we can identify risks and respond. Traditionally, that has relied on structured reporting systems, which sometimes can take time to get the data we need. So today, I'm really pleased to be joined by Patrick Quade, founder and CEO of DineSafe and creator of the iwaspoisoned.com platform that uses real-time consumer reports to identify signals and potential outbreaks and illnesses earlier. And the company then works with industry, regulators, and public health organizations to help them turn those signals and insights into action. Patrick began his career in finance and technology before a personal experience with foodborne illness led him to apply his thinking and background in data and systems to this space. Since then, iwaspoisoned.com has grown into a globally recognized early warning system supporting many organizations to identify outbreaks and improve response times. So today, I'm delighted to explore this idea of crowdsourced data, AI, and real-time reporting that are reshaping the future of food safety, I think, and what that means for the industry. As always, we're open for questions, so please do type them in the Q&A box and we'll respond towards the end. So Patrick, it's great to have you with us today. I believe you're
Ronan, great.
in
Yeah,
Austin,
thanks so much.
Texas.
Here in Austin, Texas. And yeah, thanks so much for having me. Great to be here and really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Let's dive in. So your journey into food safety is very interesting and actually parallels my own. I did technology undergraduate and masters, and I worked in finance as well for a little
Oh,
while until a serendipitous food safety risk project in Trinity College brought me into this industry, and I've been working for it ever since. So, can you tell us a bit more about how the creation of iwaspoisoned.com came about and how it has evolved to today?
yeah, it was like you said at the top, it was a personal experience. I got sick. You know, called the place that I thought I got sick from to let them know, not yelling or screaming, and hung up the phone as soon as I said, I think I got sick from your foods. I was like, wow, that's there should be a system. I was like, what if people are kind of getting harmed all throughout, throughout the area, and they simply, at least at the store, they had no interest in hearing about it. There should be a system for that. And
Hmm.
I wasn't like launching a company. I just thought that there should be something there that could capture that, and I built it, and that was it. There was no fanfare. There was no kind of like launching a company, and I didn't think I didn't know if it would sort of take. It was more of a I just thought I should do something, and that was my way of doing something. Yeah, it just organically grew legs, and it became clear that there was a very big gap there, and that there was an opportunity to really do some good work there. So that was what drew me into it.
Excellent. And so from the time you launched it until you decided, oh, this is actually something we could build a business around, how long did that take? Was it weeks or months?
Oh, and I would say years. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, it
years. Okay.
literally, yeah, it launched, and I think
Mm.
like I didn't even know if anyone would find it. I actually didn't know anything about how people found things on the. I mean, I was like entirely clueless, and then someone reported. I was like, oh my God, wow, like that was it. I was like, you know what, that gave someone a way to speak up, like awesome, and I didn't really think much. Then another, and it literally just snowballed until there were really powerful signals that I was sitting on, and it was like, oh my God, there's like very important information in here, and it was kind of
Mm.
that point that I was like, okay, this is a thing, and
Mm.
it needed my full attention to take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's a super like organic growth kind of story, just providing that really useful tool and then seeing it take off must have been exciting. So that was the problem you wanted to solve, was as a system that could join the dots there between a report and a venue perhaps that needed to know about these things. So how does the platform actually work? How much data is in there? What does it do? And how do you make signals from all of that?
Yeah, and that's the heart of it, Cronin. It's like, one of the criticisms and fair criticisms that, that comes up when talking about crowdsourced data and consumer reporting is that, well, people always think it was the last thing they ate, which is not always true, frankly,
Mm,
but it can be true. And also these are, it's primarily self-diagnosis. So, there are inherent weaknesses in when you consider both of those things. So the way that, and it became clear as we were going along that, obviously, clearly a single report, um, has value from a consumer sentiment perspective and a customer care and customer recovery. Even if they were wrong, there's still an opportunity for the brands to kind of to do something that are interested in that.
mm,
But and if it's a physical contamination event with photos and videos, or it's a packaging event, some of these things are like much more of a stronger signal singularly. But
mhm.
the real value was when you get, the 40th single report from independent households citing a singular location within a 48-hour time frame. That was when it, it's hyper powerful because,
Yeah,
when you do the math on that, the likelihood of something like that happening by chance is, you know it's extremely strong signal. And then when you
exactly.
start to layer additional things on, which maybe we'll talk about later in terms of benchmarking, and you're looking when you have a large amount of data and you can look at a brand or a product relative to peers, normalizing it, whether it's for, market share or for store count or whatever it might be, and you see something that's running 10, 20 times higher or suddenly spike up out of nowhere. So that's the way that we've found it to be strongest,
Yeah.
and have the most value. Like there's value in the single reports, but there's a immense amount of value when you start to add this stuff up and tally it using those techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. That's yeah, exactly. It's coincidence. It's beyond coincidence when you see that number of reports, and bearing in mind that people are a bit fuzzy about where they might have picked up. But if you see those trends arising, then you know there's something going on. Very valuable information for industries or businesses. So then, on the other side, then do you approach companies and organizations with this early insight signal, whether it's around, as you say, sentiment or packaging or food safety? Do you actually go out there and try to promote this as an offering then to those businesses?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. So there's two parts to it. Well, there's really three parts. There's the consumer side, which is people who want to speak up, which is the beginning. That was the genesis of of this platform. And then there's the regulators and industry.
Mm,
And associations to some extent, and meta organizations. But public health, we have very large penetration for public health adoption. I were in over 500 agencies worldwide, and we operate natively in 7 languages. I think it's 7 languages. So
mm,
we translate, to make sure that irrespective of where it originated or how, it can be understood by the recipient. And we um, also have done, do outreach to brands and uh, and try and let brands and industry know, like, hey, we're here to, I think there's some perception that like we're out to get brands or, or something like that, which is absolutely not true. Like, the furthest thing from the truth. But that we have offerings to help them, see these things early, see the signals through the benchmarking, and basically plugged into this data to supplement. It's not a replacement for anything that exists, either on the public health side or on the industry side, but it's a really powerful way to supplement, other things they might be doing and seeing that we think, and we try and communicate that and let brands know. And if there are individual incidents and we're not in contact with the brand, we do the best we can to try and reach out to those brands, but the 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 thing that's tricky is getting through to the organization within a brand that is most interested in it. And sometimes it can span, the QA, it can span, customer care, it can span, the socials, the social side. There's a
Yeah.
variety of areas, and it's corralling that together to make sure that we're in contact with the right people inside the brands.
Yeah. And what kind of reaction do you get? I guess there's a variety of different organizations that some are more forward thinking and they want to know, and others probably want to keep their head in the sand. Do you see that spectrum?
Yeah, I mean, I think the deli that there was a deli that in Tribeca that I was hanging up the phone as soon as I heard it. So that persists even at a much larger level. And then there are other very tech forward brands, that understand how the world works. People are on their phones. They speak up. They share. That's what happens. That's not going away. If anything, that's going to get stronger. And like they're ultimately like ignoring that is not going to work out well, because if you're sitting on the sidelines when something explodes that you could have been in front of, that doesn't
Yeah.
end well for anyone. So it's a mixture, but it's the and I think initially more resistance, but over time, as brands as things have evolved, brands are like have kind of overwhelmingly sort of embrace the idea that we need to be looking at this. Is every report right? No.
Yeah.
But are the things that matter, do they matter? They really matter.
Yeah, yeah, it's better to know and have a look into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose if you're looking at anything else on the market, like more traditional outbreak detection, like the things you might see the CDC doing and other like after the event analyses can take time, weeks and more to find out, what happened or identify a pattern. Whereas yours could be a signal before anything even, anything like that occurs. So the speed and dynamics is changing um, in the way yours can work. So how does this real-time reporting, like how much does it change that speed compared to traditional methods?
I mean, it's near instant. So
Mm,
now there are things that are that we naturally do less well at. And list theory is an obvious example, with the onset time and the likelihood that we will triangulate something with that long an incubation is low.
okay.
So it really depends on what the thing is.
Mm,
On the flip side of that, if you have someone that had a diagnosis, because we when people report to us, they're reporting, it's not just a commentary. It might also be, it's photos, it's packaged. They'll send in, diagnostics. That's all
right.
de-identified, but they'll share a great deal of information. So some of that can be, can be helpful as well.
Mm. And I understand you've a lot more data than is actually what's visible on your website. So a lot of people report and like without going public in a sense, like making a public post on the site, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's something that a lot of we make it clear on the website. I mean, it's right there, on the form, so consumers can see that they have an option to do that. And we try and make it clear to to other potential participants that hey, you can't just sort of look at the website and think we got this. Well, we're scraping the website. It's around a third of the data is actually showing on the website.
Mm.
So you will miss signals if you're simply scraping the website, and that's important to know. Yeah, and about that, it's consumer choice. We literally just give consumers the option. The most typical is they'll opt into helping detect an outbreak, sharing data with regulators, sharing data with brands who are interested, and but not necessarily putting it on the website. And yeah, that's a really important point. So thanks for mentioning it.
Yeah, so that it kind of comes to the motivation of the consumers. They're not trying to publicly, you know, shame or anything a brand. They're trying to literally report, and even if it's in private, that they know that you can use that for good and on the back end, which is a good thing to know about how the system works. So when then you do engage with a health authority or a company, how are they using those insights? Have you seen any good examples or case studies where they've used that to achieve a good outcome in one of those organizations?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Whether it's on the public health side, literally detecting outbreaks that go on
Hmm.
to be, go on to be confirmed. Some agencies will fire all of their ad hoc inspections based on our reports, which I think is
Oh.
if it's ad hoc, inspection cycles anyway, then we think that's like a totally decent way to do that.
Hmm.
And certainly when there are clusters. And then on the industry side, whether it's looking at again looking at clusters and doing a deep dive and trying to remediate things or remediating things in advance and basically preventing that headline story that
Yeah.
that can come out. Because I mean the other piece of the puzzle here is I said there were three participants. There's actually a fourth participant, which is the news media. Media, and I'll say news media and social media that
Yeah.
can see this data and can amplify things. So and that's if something never gets big enough, then it typically doesn't. It won't get amplified across a broader set. So helping brands really um, avert that by being early on it.
Yeah, exactly. So the health authorities are agencies that can target their ad hoc inspections, as you say, based on the signals you're providing and then detecting outbreaks. So what's the time difference, between your prediction and them detecting? Would it be a couple of weeks later or
Oh
how?
no, no. So the health agencies will get a daily report for their
Hmm.
jurisdiction. Everything's geofenced,
Mm.
and they get uh, we'll notify them of clusters. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it depends on what their threshold is. Like, this is the fourth independent household reporting about this specific
Yeah.
location or product in an X time frame, whatever their thresholds are. So they have the opportunity to investigate right away, and that's within a day or 48 hours.
Yeah.
If they're doing ad hoc inspections based on singular reports, that's the next day. So that can be the
Hmm.
next day. So they get the reports and then they do. So and Yeah, for you know we also have a real time
Mm.
feature for industry, so they can actually get reports like immediately, like as soon as they're moderated. And the other thing, I said the word moderated, so I'll just explain what that is a little bit. Every report that we get goes through a multi-step process to um, to eliminate authentic and malicious and false reporting. So whether that's spam, whether that's duplicate, which often that it can be as simple as just deduplicating and taking
Yeah.
spam out. But also other signals where it's we have a lot of tools on the back end to help us identify where something. So we think of extremely clean data feed,
Yeah.
from that perspective. And so once something's been through that multi-step process, which is using technology and humans, then it can become available for the brands immediately.
Yeah, so that and the authorities or the brands can respond within 24 or 48 hours, whereas they wouldn't have any idea before that there was something to look into. Are you using any of the newer AI tools in your system yet, or have you looked at that?
Yes, we do. We're technology first and
Mm.
always, and yeah, we've heavily deployed AI. AI isn't a magic wand. It's like, oh, point AI at the system and it will tell you everything, which
Mm.
is it's not the case,
It's
as
not.
as you well
Yeah,
know. So,
exactly.
and then I think some people hear, oh, they're using AI, and then they saw AI hallucinate something. Well, it's like this is all. It's very process driven. It's much more boring than it sounds.
Yeah.
But it's critical in terms of like the speed with which we can operate. Whether it's the labeling, the optical, even some older AI type stuff like optical character recognition that even predates the LLMs, but then the LLMs in a whole range of places that's allowed us, to do a lot more, especially as we've scaled, whether it's like identifying physical contamination, where a consumer might not call physical, they might call physical contamination by any number of ways, or they might not even kind of it might be from a picture, but able to like reason through and surface like physical contamination with high
Yeah.
confidence and accurately, like in at scale. Like that's just one small example of like where the LLMs really shine and lean
Categorizing
into that.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, categorizing things, yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
That's great. Yeah, no, the latest, I suppose, iterations of these large language models have become quite impressive and excellent at the kind of thing you need, which is text analysis and understanding. So I'm sure they can help you make your detections even more accurate or faster to process in your system.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they're amazing. It's incredible. I'm shocked every day, like the things
Yeah.
that they can help us with. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like set up a little agent that has a job to do with each incoming post. Yeah, but as you say, they're not quite there yet where you just say, have a look at my system and tell me what's going on. It's not, that would
Yeah.
not be kind of the use case
Not
just
yet.
yet. Not yet. Yeah, exactly. You still have a job to do yourself there. So that's good. Yeah, so I suppose, looking ahead, have you plans or thoughts on the future of what this platform can do? Are you going to expand it into any other dimensions of products, or how do you see this crowdsourced intelligence, real-time data streams, helping the global food safety system in the
I,
future?
yeah, I mean, I think it's a case of industries, might have initially been have a negative reaction to this, and I think it's been an evolution to where like no, this is a part of the puzzle, really critical
Mm,
part of the puzzle, aligned with other tools that they can use, whether it's Creme Global or whether it's you know, like harvesting data that they actually collect themselves and kind of getting their own data in better shape and then bringing all this stuff together. So I think it's a natural evolution for uh, that we'll be supporting and kind of helping iterate on with brands and bringing more brands into the fold who want to get involved with this kind of thing. So,
mm.
and I think in the end, looking at this data will be simply be a best practice. Yeah,
Yeah.
like ignoring it will not be a defensible position for for the C-suite or for for the heads of QA or whoever the case might be. And like if you're sitting as a brand, or a practitioner, and if you're sitting atop a very negative outcome, which may not be your fault, but if it's something where there were additional tools, additional affordable tools you could have used to help spot earlier, not just protecting the consumers, but also protecting the brand, and you opted out, you chose not to look at it,
Mhm.
that's that's not a position that you want to be in, and then
Totally agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So and so it's supporting that, and then evolving with AI. I mean, we think the benchmarking is massive. The ability to see, you know, and I'll give one example, like a specific example that if there's time for it, relating to
Yeah.
Lucky Charms, that actually got a lot of headlines, and it turned out there was no the FDA didn't figure out exactly what had gone on, which
Mm,
was uh, which is not unexpected, because if it's beyond microbial, like and it could be, it's very very, very difficult to figure out what had happened. But
mm,
in that case, we had you have a very long baseline of reporting for Lucky Charms, like over 8 years of reporting, And if out of nowhere have a spike that's over 40 times higher than historical,
Yeah.
and this was pre the news coverage. So this pre the news coverage, and you you ask yourself as a brand, like, do I care about that? We think the answer is yes. That's something to
Yeah.
look at.
Yeah.
Now, especially that was an interesting one because it was at the time it was sort of in the middle of COVID, and actually on an earnings call, Lucky Charms had said, and I'm quoting, the biggest issue we're seeing is around material selection, ingredients coming into our plants to run our products. In some products, we've reformulated over 20 times year to date. Okay, so as a company, you've got a problem with materials. You've
Mm.
reformulated over 20 times year to date. You said it publicly, and you've got a massive spike pre news coverage. So I think some people maybe who are aware of this issue is like, oh well, this got in the news, and then the reporting went up. It was a
Yeah.
44x over baseline and peers before a single line item of news. So we say
Mm.
that's worth investigating. Was it, the odds of that being a coincidence, the math on that, better than anyone, Cronin, like that's very clear.
Yeah.
Um, and, it's, from where we're sitting, it's something you want to look at, it's,
Yeah.
now the fact that we had 8,000 people come forward, over
Wow.
8,000 people came forward after, after it got traction and people started piecing it together in their heads. Now, some of those would be false positives,
Mm.
confirmation bias, but we've had, we've done this many, many times over. We've seen other things where there was absolutely a contaminant, and it was also got massive media coverage. We've seen 200 people come forward. 100.
Hmm.
So when
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
all kinds of benchmarking. Say, hey, this is the average reaction we get after something hits the news. This is the reaction that happened here. Again, like,
Just knew.
does it
Yeah.
make it a truth? No, but it's certainly something you really want to tear into. And it's certainly having that Lucky Charm signal over 4 months ahead of the news. That's a lot of time to get ahead of that and to do something. So that's and it's putting these tools into the right hands of the brands that are interested in it is where, and customizing them, to make sure that it fits for what they do.
So you went with this information that you were seeing this. They may or may not have been receptive to that, but they never found out. Well, the FDA or the authorities never actually found out any real root cause or what had happened. But there's certainly some kind of incident, and then it settled down again. Or is that what happened?
So, well, if you're that company, and you'd like to see where your brand stands, then
It
we'd
may
we'd
or may
love to
not
hear
have
from you. And
settled
we,
down.
there's, well, I won't get into the details on that, but
Hmm.
certainly that, I mean, and this gets back to the AI side of it a little
Mm.
bit. Is, when you're doing OCR on the product codes, and you can trace it back to a month
Mm.
and a plant.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, very, very, very powerful. And so that batch appeared to, if it was, that's what it sure as heck looks like. Yeah, that's certainly abated. But in terms of where they sit now, that yeah, we. But I mean, frankly, we're sitting on a watch list of like manufactured goods that we can see right now that are Lucky Charms esque, and we're kind of, we would love to have more of the brands that that are out there, like
Hmm.
working with us, so they could actually look at it alongside us or take this data and do their own thing, because there are brands that are sitting on that type of thing, today.
Yeah.
It's making sure that we're connected with those folks, and they're able to act on this and kind of, work with the data to help their situation.
Have you any data or thoughts of expanding into cosmetic products or pharmaceuticals even? Or is it all?
Um, we have we get reports across. We actually have toyed around trying to expand on that. But we haven't for now. We actually accidentally expanded into fraud by on a different website
Right.
because scams and online scams and fraud are simply enormous. So that's like a tangent.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of has exploded, unfortunately.
Mm.
And so we definitely could do that. It's just a matter of like where the right, the time and resources in terms of where to put our energy. But it's definitely something we considered.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we don't have any questions coming up from the audience as far as I can see. So let me check. No. Do you have any upcoming events or information you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap up?
Yeah, we got a few things coming up. We're doing a data and AI safety workshop. We're going to be a speaker on that for AFTA, the Association of Food and Drug Officials, in June.
Very good.
Speaking alongside an esteemed company, Creme Global. I think you all heard
Yes.
that one. Is that right?
I was going to
So,
say, I
so
think Brendan will be there. Yeah. I believe he
Oh,
will. Yeah.
okay,
Very
yeah.
good.
And yeah, we have a poster at the upcoming IAFP if you want to check that out. It's on crowdsourced data and benchmarking, and we've got a white paper coming out in concept with NC State. So that's another thing we're excited about for later this year, and
Wow.
another AI consumer data talk with the manufactured foods regulatory community that's coming out later in the year. But if anyone wants to, I'm on LinkedIn. If anyone wants to follow, and I can send out updates on that stuff. If I'd love to see you there or watch my posts.
Excellent. Yes, you can follow Patrick or DineSafe, I believe, on LinkedIn. Um,
Yeah, it's actually just on my name is where I post most of my stuff. We're a little not as we're not posting on the company page as much, but
okay, just follow
if you
you
follow me,
personally.
then yeah, you'll
Yeah.
definitely have the latest and greatest. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And look forward to IFP. We'll have a few sessions there ourselves. We'll try and organize our traditional drinks reception at one of the events. So if you're there yourself, we'll hope to be great to
I'd
catch
love
up
to.
again. Yeah, yeah,
I'd love to.
super.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'll make it in person, but if I am, I'll definitely do
That now
that.
you should be tempted to go now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'll relook at the
It's
calendar. Yeah.
a Creme Global event there. So yeah, it's become a bit of an institution. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. It's been a really fascinating talk about a a new area of using data and this crowdsourced insight that's generating signals. And Patrick's sitting on a lot of interesting signals there. So keep in touch and reach out to him on LinkedIn, and I'm sure we'll be able to learn more at some of these posters and white papers and things you're going to publish in the next few weeks. So thanks, Patrick. Pleasure.
Thanks so much for having me, Cronin. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.
You.